In the halls of Castle Weasel, we stand strong. Brave knights and adventurers sing our song. This is Castle Weasel. It is a huge ruined pile, but it is less ruined than it used to be. Somebody did not stand strong. Maybe kind of a bad idea. Maybe this isn't the most defensible formation around. Maybe we'd be better off building a castle all of our own. But we are a week away from civilization in the near Scrublands. In fact, we're right. Oh, let's see if we can get the focus working on this. There we go. Yeah, so here we are right here. Castle Weasel. It's about these. I can't remember now. Does it say here? I always try to remember to write it down. What did we say these are? 4 mile hexes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 24 mile for the big hex. 4 miles for the small. What is 4 or 5 at the scale we're talking about? You know, I don't like to quibble over little details like that. In order to get supplies to Castle Weasel, we've been fixing this up for the last couple of weeks. We have a ditch. We're going to build a wooden palisade. It takes a couple of weeks, but then we can start rebuilding this wall here. And of course, we probably need to put a gate, maybe a drawbridge through here. We can dig a ditch down through here. We got room for that. There's all kinds of fun stuff we can do, but it takes time. And when you're playing this game at 1-to-1 time, it's the one resource you don't have any control over. And some people, when they sit down to play their old Dungeons and Dragons, there it is. Oh, the granddaddy of them all. Complete with lots of... I'm going to take that out because there's a lot of glare on it. When you set yourself with 1-to-1 time, and time only passes so fast, it really opens up the possibilities of play. When your traditional, your standard, I shouldn't say traditional, your standard, your modern day gamers play this, and they've been modern for over 40 years. People have been playing without 1-to-1 time. And what you find is that if you can control time itself, then you can do whatever you want. And it doesn't matter. Time itself doesn't matter. Nothing matters. And when you set as your default perspective, well, nothing matters, your game doesn't matter. It tends to fall apart. If you adopt the standard calendar, then suddenly there is a rhythm to the game that is played. And there are peaks and valleys, and there's times where nothing happens, and there's times where lots of things happen. And so that's where we're at right now. As we experiment with 1-to-1 time in not the interpersonal 1-to-1 character scale, where I have one character and that's all I have. And maybe I have a henchman or two, a couple of hirelings. We're playing a large scale game. I've got 100 guys on my payroll. I started out at 80, but that's not enough. We ran into some real problems. Ignore the shushing. That's Biscotti is over here keeping track of me. And Biscotti is a little jealous that I'm paying attention to you and not her. Knock it off. Give us a kiss. There we go. That's the bird. And for those of you that don't believe me, there she is. Bisco. She's sitting in her dark little corner. So, as I was saying, we have a couple of things to do. So let's just roll the tape back. For those of you that are new here, we've got this castle. We're trying to reestablish ourselves. If we can get this castle safe, if we can clear the hexes that are around it, we have a safe haven for the villagers. If any nasties come and attack, we'll let them in. We'll fight off the attack. They can go back and rebuild. We're out on, this is not safe, right? There's orcs out there. We know that. There's lots of wolves. That's why they call it the Wolflands. So it's going to be a while. It might be until we really should hustle, though, right? Because we want the spring planting done. I'm anticipating that if we can get this done, and oh my gosh, by doing 1-to-1 time, we can use the real calendar and we can give ourselves a little bit more urgency to the things that we do. We can actually try to plan around the real world calendar. I have to get this castle at least fixed up enough to keep some villagers because they're coming from 2 weeks away. They're going to be living in tents, trying to get their crops in the ground. And then once that's done, they can kind of rebuild their homes. We have a lot of raw materials in the form of the ruins that are nearby, but we can't just sit on our laurels and wait forever. So oddly enough, using 1-to-1 time adds a sense of drama and urgency to your game. And that means by May, I need to have this set up. These farmers are going to have to get their I don't know. We haven't really established a whole lot. We're kind of playing things a little bit loose. What latitude are we at? How far are we from the ocean? There's all kinds of farm stuff. I don't care. I'm just setting myself mid-May is when I need to go to town, the town that's like a week away. And people are starting to hear about our adventures now. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But, by early May, March, April, I got it's February 20th as this goes live. I've got about 9 weeks. to clear this and make it safe enough so that my people can come in. Boy, so I can't just do whatever I want with time. I have to deal with the world as it is. And that gives me a lot more incentive to sit down and play the game. And when you have incentive to play the game, you don't skip sessions. See, this is one of the problems that most of the modern D&D people have, is they think because they can do anything and because nothing matters, well, they don't have the proper incentive structures to sit down and play the game. Not like we do. And we can cheat a little bit, right? Like we got a 6-hex pond here. I'm not going to go scuba diving. That would be silly. If I could explore the perimeter of the pond, and what did we call that? We named that the watery tart pond. If I can explore the perimeter, then we'll call it good, right? We have woods over here, woods up here, and we haven't even explored those yet. We haven't even explored out this first mile. Each of these red hexes, of course, is 1 mile. And according to Gary, once you've cleared 1.5 miles in all directions, so this is where our village fields are going to be. We're going to be able to take advantage of the lumber, and maybe we clear one of these hexes. Each of these small blue hexes, remember, is 200 yards. So if we can clear one of these small blue hexes, the farmers can come turn those into fields. They can burn out the stumps. They can plant them 200 yards. Maybe somebody wants to build a little mill. We'll probably have to put a mill right here by the pond. Or do you put it at the downside of the pond? I don't know. Maybe at the top side. Maybe that would be good. Because then we're within like a long bow shot of our castle. Point being, we got a boogie. Now, as I said, today is February 8th. And this is just a little taste of what the journal looks like, right? So we fought 8 ogres. And as you recall, our boys got chased back. Now, the ogres were here. Let me zoom in real close on that one. This hex, let me get my little pointer pencil, right? So this hex here is only 4 hexes away, so about 800 yards. That's not that far. So we retreated, better part of valor. And the big question now is, are those ogres going to sit there and take it? Are they going to wait for us? Maybe they are, maybe they're not. Now, in the book, the little guide for the masters of the dungeons, Gary says the monsters will stay there until they're driven off. But are they going to sit? Are they passive? Are they just going to sit there and wait for us to come to them? Maybe. I don't know what their story is. We have to do some post hoc rationalization for why they're doing what they're doing. Why aren't they going over to their allies in this hex? And the real answer is, I don't know who their allies might be over here. I haven't explored that far. Now, this is why I need to... I'm waiting until I can clear these ogres out, because if I start exploring the rest of this hex and I find more baddies, I got to deal with them all. Not bad guys, right? Not you zoomies, settle down. Although I suppose if there's there's woods here, so I guess if there's a dryad, maybe there's a wood baddie in there. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, I apologize. I'm well versed in Zoomer, and I like to throw them a bone once in a while because they're great. I love those guys. The generation just cracks me up. Point being, I have to decide whether these ogres are going to make an attack on the castle, and I don't think they are, and I'll tell you why. If we take a look at my roster, here's what it looks like. I have it close to hand, he said, and, somewhat dishonestly. I thought I had it. All right, I got it. There's a lot of information to track. Be gentle with me down in the comments, would you? This is what my roster looks like. And I have all my notes for how much it costs to recruit and how much it costs to pay these guys and for how long. The important thing to be aware of is that I've got 20 Lightfoot with a lieutenant. I've got, wait a minute. I have no heavy foot. They all got squashed. Well, no, hold on. 20 of them got squashed. 10 of them died. And we've carved their names into I don't know, maybe we carve it into the drawbridge gate, right? Just a nice, thank you. These are the men who gave their lives that Castle Weasel might rise from the ruins. Now, I've only got 10 heavy foot as of, and here's where things get interesting. I got 20 casualties. So for a week, I had no heavy foot. The castle was only defended by 20 Lightfoot, 20 archers, and no crossbowmen, they're too expensive, but 20 medium horse. So I had 60 guys. And I called for reinforcements, and after a week, 10 of them recovered from their injuries enough that they can stand guard again. So that means as of the February the 18th, 10 of these guys recover. On February 25th, I get reinforcements, or do I? Because I'm doing this in 1-to-1 time, I actually use the real-world weather to decide what the weather is like in my campaign world for the week. And you might not be able to hear it, but it's raining right now. Just a nice steady drizzle. It's turning the scrublands into mud. And unfortunately, I'm bringing wagons. Maybe my mules get here a little faster, but they don't want to leave without, oh, shoot, you know what? 10 of these medium horse are guarding the wagon train. So they're not even available. That means I only have 20, 40, 50 guys to defend Castle Weasel. Unfortunately, because of the battle against the Red 8, that's the ogres, I don't have enough. I got to take 2 weeks off of exploring. I can't afford 2 weeks. Spring is coming. But that's all I got until I get reinforcements. So as we talked about in the last episode, I ordered up 40 fresh heavy foot. They're not arriving until the 28th. So what does all that mean? Well, let's just cycle back. What it means is, on the 18th, so here we go, right? On the February 13th, we fought the Red Ogres are watching. We didn't have any events. There's a 1.1% chance of a downtime encounter. That means over the last week. And then on the 18th, 10 heavy foot recover. And then on the 25th, 40 heavy foot arrive with the wagon train. Now, I said on the 25th, but you know what? There's a lot of rain. It's going to slow them way down. They're going to be a day late. Now, if they get here on the 26th, we can send out all of these forces. We'll send 10 Lightfoot, 20 heavy, 20 medium horse, and 10 archers. Well, but I can't send all 20 of my medium horse because I got to turn them around. I got to get those wagon trains in and out every 2 weeks. And I'm a little bit delayed because of the weather. I think at a minimum, they're going to be delayed by a day. And there's a pretty good chance they'll be delayed 2 days. So I'm going to roll a die to find out. On a 1, 2, 3, they're delayed a single day. Yeah, they are. Okay, so they're actually going to get in on the 26th, and then the 27th, they're going to be off. So that means on the 28th, that's when we're going to send a force of. And let's just count this out. Remember, ogres are 4 hit die creatures. That's 24 hit dice. It's 4 plus 4 hit die, right? Call it 5. I got 30 hit die. Well, I'm sending out 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 to their 30. I think I can take them with that, right? Maybe I send out 30 heavy foot to give myself 2-to-1 odds to drive those ogres off. And the reason I'll do that in our next episode is that with 2-to-1 odds, it's an obviously superior force, and I can go to the morale rules and maybe drive them off without a fight. Remember, right? Remember that our mercenary golden rule, we don't get paid to fight. We get paid to win. And if we can win without fighting, that is a much more lucrative way to run our business. So that's what we're doing. With that said, so that's for next week, because we're going to have to wait till the 28th. As I said, today is the 20th that this goes live. I could probably explore a couple of more hexes, but again, I don't want to risk stirring up any hornet's nests. There may be giant bees out there. I need to address another elephant in the room. A number of people have said, hey, why are you worried about these ogres? Ogres are that's a job for adventurers. Well, it's a great point. That's what we have adventurers for. And particularly because we know that this isn't the ogre lair, that's gonna hurt us for a couple of reasons. One, there's not a lot of loot there. So for two, they haven't showed up yet, right? Like I don't want to just arbitrarily say, 10 adventurers show up, I win, game over. No, we're trying to give ourselves some challenges to overcome. And one of those challenges is random parties. If you're in a dungeon, they're fairly common, okay? Right? So if we look on this chart here, see the human subtable? Well, that's not it. There's maybe it is. Yeah. And then characters, right? So there is a 12% chance that you encounter humans. There is a better than 50-50 chance that what you're looking at is a character. Okay, but I'm not in a dungeon. All right, so let's just look for a minute. What are the odds that my wilderness encounter runs into a D&D adventuring party? And there's a solution. I know some of you guys are already screaming, well, why don't you just use the henchman rules? Slow down, Chief. We'll get there. I wanted to show the noobs, or the people that aren't as familiar with AD&D, what it takes to get an NPC party. So if we look at uninhabited areas, and we're in rough, so this is scrub, it actually says, includes ruins within up to 5 miles of the party. Well, I mean, I guess we're technically within 5 miles of the party because Castle Weasel's a ruin. So we roll on rough, or scrub rather. Actually, we're in the scrub land, so let's roll on scrub. And this, this is a distinction. I don't think it's really a ruin anymore. It's inhabited. There's fires. There's good smells. There's people hunting. We're fine. So for scrub, if we roll down the scrub, that's the second column here, and take a look. We're looking for humans. Men, I forgot, Gary is my kind of misogynist. There is a 20% chance that you encounter men. Here it is right there, 41 to 60. Hopefully the pixels are big enough. So 40, you got about a 1 in 5 chance that any encounter in the scrub is going to be men. But then you have to go to the man table. And it says here in scrub, characters. So this is where you have your D&D part, your classic D&D party. See special note hereafter pertaining to characters, 10% in all cases. And so he doesn't put the numbers down, but which is funny, right? He could just say, it's from 16 to 25. He just says, look, it's 10%. Any number, there's a gap here, right? So we have a gap on this one from 10 to 21. Yeah, right, it's 10% in all cases, right? That's your special note. And then it says here, it suggests you use typical parties of dungeon characters for such encounters. 90% will be mounted. War horses will be where applicable. But the long and short of it is, in any given encounter that we have, there is a 1 in 5 and then a 1 in 10 chance. So we're looking at a 1 in 50 chance that you actually encounter a D&D party. That's ridiculously low. So if we really wanted to encounter a D&D party, a classic party of adventurers, that we could say, hey, go kill those guys, and I'll let you keep 10% of whatever you find. Then they're going to laugh at you, and they're going to go keep all of it, right? So there's a negotiation there. But I wanted to show you henchmen, because this is wonderful guidance for even a large scale. Hey, look, I'm trying to clear hexes. I need a little help. I'm dealing with 4-mile hexes here. Again, remember, see, all 7 of those hexes fit into an area that's something like this. It's not. I mean, it's half the size, right? It's 3 miles across, and this is 4. It's maybe a half a mile gap all the way around. So it's the better part of this. And if we can clear all those, then we're just gonna. Yeah, I know we're only clearing about half of it, but we're gonna call it good. Okay. So we clear this, we got a 24-mile hex, we're good to go. But the point is, if you really wanted to hire adventurers, you can slide on over to the henchmen, right? You just jump into their DMs. And I wanted to call special attention to this passage because it is such a hilarious endorsement of everything that we advocate for here in The Joy of Wargaming and in You Can Win at RPGs. Verbatim, henchmen, whether male or female, are greatly desired by the discerning players. For they tell the difference, they usually spell the difference between failure and success in the long-term view. We're thinking long-term here. They are useful in individual adventures as a safety measure against the machinations of rival player characters. In the standard modern get-along gang version of Dungeons & Dragons, the machinations of other characters are thrown out the window. I don't care. This is one of those little snippets that Gary drops in here because he assumes that you are playing in a much more adversarial manner, that you are playing in a faction-based game. We get together for the dungeons, but we all have our own goals outside of survival and getting the gold. Our thief wants to start a thieves guild. Our fighter wants to draw adventurers so he can play the domain game. Our cleric wants to build a temple complex. And sometimes those align and sometimes they don't. And sometimes you will machinate, if you prefer, against other players. Very important 5-word snippet there. They can provide strength to the character in his or her stronghold. And lastly, serve as a means of adventuring when the player character is unable to. I want to read that again. It is so important. I wish he had put this in all caps the way he puts everything else that's important, like strict time records must be kept. Henchmen serve as a means of adventuring when the player character is unable to. Well, our player characters, of which we only have 2, and they are too busy dealing with all of the political infighting and running the office at the show, they're not going out and adventuring unless they really have to. That is, of course, Deacon Harrison Hill and Roger the Hammer Steiner. Now, I haven't updated this yet, right? We decided these guys are 6th level because that way they have a 5th level captain. So it's Deacon Harrison Hill, and then it's Captain. I'm going to go ahead and write that down right here. Fighter 5, and we decided that is Captain. The sound of music guy. I'm so confused I even wrote down a 5 here. Old man moment. Captain Von Traps. He never skips a back day. Captain Von Trapezius is, right? Captain Von Traps. You work your traps today? Oh, yeah. Yeah, boy. I was doing all kinds of lat pull downs. Okay. Wait a minute. That would be lats. What are traps? That would be rows, right? Bent over rows. It's a bro channel. All right. So why am I talking about henchmen if what I'm really interested in is hiring an adventuring party? Well, there's no way to use these rules directly. At no point does Gary say, here's exactly how you hire an adventuring party. He's kind of, he's giving you the baby and the bathwater. He's doing that wise King Solomon thing of chopping the baby in half so you can have, whichever half you want, left, right, top, bottom, whichever half of the baby you want at any given time, it's in here. And so this is what I'm looking at here. Effective location of henchmen. Well, this provides us with a little bit of guidance. I wonder if I can zoom in on this. Dave, get the barbarian bar another drink, please. Here we go. So while there might be as many as, so there's some numbers here. How many different people? Well, about 1 in 100. Okay, well, I got a town, Harrington, of 10,000 people. There's likely to be 100 guys that I'm willing to do. But this table is what I'm looking at. Posting notices in public. For 50 gold pieces, each method can be tried once a month with any hope of success. There is a 10 to 40% chance of effectiveness. This is what we need to do if we want to draw some adventuring parties out here. And we can sweeten the deal a little bit. I would argue that rather than paying adventuring parties, hey, I'll pay 100 gold, right? And so here's for each 10 gold pieces of fee, there's a 1 to 4% chance of reaching a henchman, whatever. So I think this is probably pretty suitable. Look, for 50 gold pieces, I can post notices in public, and so again, it's only once a month. So I'm going to check once for February, which maybe that's a little cheap. I think I need to wait for March, February, March. I need to wait for March actually, because remember this is where the 1-to-1 time comes in again. My guys are here now on the 28th. They're going to take a week to get back and post their notices, and then they'll come back. And then they go, and then they come back. So maybe by the end of the month, we can have that, there's a 40% chance, but we'll start rolling it. And that 40% chance, now, honestly, this doubles down for me on my likelihood of success. For 50 gold pieces a month, I have a 40% chance of success. We'll try to remember to spend that money and roll those dice on the first of every month. That is, 40% chance is great, but you're only checking once a month. On the other hand, I'm going to continue to adventure, and I still have that 1 in 50. So if I have, 50 encounters in a month, then there's at least one of those. There's a very good chance that at least one of those is going to be that adventuring party. So I'm adding to my chances of success by spending that 50 gold pieces. And I'm buying myself a little piece in the comments section because I've addressed this now, and I'm probably not going to address it all the time, but you guys may just have to remind me. So that's the other big thing I wanted to talk about. And again, I'm not going to do a whole lot of adventuring. We're not kicking over any rocks. We're not safe to do that yet. We had to take a couple of weeks off, which is good. I had some real world things I needed to deal with. There's an ebb and flow to this style of wargaming that is wonderful. But I'm also getting a little concerned because I really need to hit this hex hard. I really need to start getting people in here because I'm going to run out of money pretty fast. I need to find and crack open a lair. And maybe I find some adventurers and I tell them, yeah, you go take just 10%. I'm just going to tax you 10%. You find 10,000 gold in there, give me 1,000. Oh, now I can afford to pay my guys for another month. What is my monthly payroll? I don't even know. It's 1,000 gold for support. Oh boy. So I need 2,000 gold, and then it's 1,580 for my soldiers. And that includes the infusion of heavy foot. But I thought there was something else I wanted to talk to you about. Let me check my notes. Sometimes I think about this. Yeah, here we go. So this is my notes for February 20th. Reinforcements arrive on the 25th, and I'm going to have to change that. I'll make a little note here. Right, due to rain delay, it's actually on the 26th. So we can go exploring on the 27th, but but that's next week's episode, right? I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I do have a question about whether the ogres attack us, and given that they have, like I said, 30 hit points or 30 hit dice, I've got at least 50 in the castle, and I'm behind the walls. I don't think that's smart. I think they're going to just hang out. but just to give them a chance, I'm going to roll a d6. And on a 6, yeah, I got a 5, so I'm clean. They're just hanging out, and they're going to wait. And we'll have to do a battle next week. A lot more going on, right? So I put down 1% chance per encounter, but it's actually 2. So let me just make a note of that. So we can recruit. So 50 gold pieces per month equals 10 to 40% chance of success. And by 10 to 40, I think what I can do is just combine dice rolls. I'll roll a d4 to find out what the chances are, and then I'll check against that. So a little stack dicing there that makes things really interesting. Let's see, 10 heavy foot, and then is there anything else? I think that's it for now. We're taking a long time, but man, once we get those 50 heavy foot in place, we are going to start knocking over some hexes. We are going to start bashing some heads and really making this the kind of hex that you want to invest your adventuring party in. Oh, and that was the other thing I wanted to mention. I think that 10% plus you have a safe haven. We're going to tell adventuring parties, look, you go out and you explore for us. We'll have to put some mechanics in place for that. But once you get back to here, you level up, right? You get your XP. Now, you still have to walk back to town if you want to get anything big, but you have an outpost, and you can stay here. We'll even pay for your room and board, right, in exchange for that 10%. And now you have a safe haven. So I think that's a pretty good deal for the adventurers. And we'll build a little mechanic for whether or not they stiff us. If they get the giant haul, you guys played D&D. You know what happens if the guy that puts you up for the night says, "Yeah, just bring back," and you get that $1 million piece gem. He's never going to see you again. And that's fine. That's part of the fun, part of the drama, part of the adventure. So again, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot happening here. We're duck swimming on the water. I think next week things are really going to pop off because we're going to have to do a combat between us and the ogres. We're going to figure what the ramifications are. We're going to have to put some plans in place. And, it's the 28th, so we may even go ahead and roll for the adventuring parties right there. And I don't know, maybe we have some time after that battle, take a day off, and we can explore one of these woods or this wetlands up here, which we're going to have to, drain that too at some point. I don't know. We'll deal with that next time. Until then, I'm praying for you.